Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ImaginAdventures Podcast. This is Mahina. I'm very happy to have you here with me at this very moment. I hope you're all doing well and having a beautiful day or evening. Right, so this week I would like to talk about how can we ride the wave of uncomfortable or the waves of uncomfortable moments. Basically, when we are not feeling good, what obviously a lot of people, website, podcasts, teachers, spiritual teachers, doctors even, psychologists, everyone has ways to help us deal with uncomfortable feeling and pain, mostly pain. But what I want to talk about here is more when we are in that uncomfortable space, even though we know this too shall pass. What is it exactly that exactly how did it feel, and how do you go from that feeling uncomfortable to feeling better? Obviously there are ways that you can actually take active steps to go into that will help, but I want to talk about that uncomfortable moment, and I want to help guide you through it, because we all go through such moments. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about an uncomfortable moment, mostly that comes with, well, it depends. You may be uncomfortable or uneasy because you may be stressed, or you may be sad, or you may be anxious. Who knows? You may have a full-on anxiety attack. You may be worried about someone's health, or about your own health, about your future or your children's future, even about something that you said or something that someone said to you about the past. Or you may be ill. You may not feel well. You know, when your body is not feeling at its optimal level, you feel uncomfortable. You may just be worried in general. Have what doctors like to call a general anxiety disorder, which is worried about the COVID situation, the financial situation, but more on a worldwide scale, or on a countrywide scale. So, you're wondering all sorts of things. You are worried, you are not feeling well, you are not feeling good, you are uncomfortable. Okay? So, something that's quite important to remember is that feeling uncomfortable, all these feelings, first of all, we all go through them. You're never alone. There will always be, at that very moment, someone else who feels exactly the same, who needs the exact same help, who can share the exact same story, of course, as special or as different as that event that is affecting your life is. Someone else is also going through something that different circumstances, different events, but going through the same feeling or the same perceptions in a way of a situation. Not everyone will perceive a situation in the same way, but there will be people who are experiencing that in the same way as you do. So you're never alone. Secondly, worrying or feeling uncomfortable is actually normal. It's actually something that we'll talk about it in a minute, but it is normal. It is part of your biology. It is part of the mechanism of your body. And then thirdly, worrying is useful, believe it or not. Not worrying, but feeling uncomfortable is useful. It has its purpose. And again, we'll talk about that. Nobody wants to feel bad or uncomfortable, but it is actually very important that we do once in a while. So, and lastly, last but not least, worrying, feeling uncomfortable, not feeling good is manageable, obviously. So I'll give you some actual tips on how you can feel better, and I'll guide you through the whole process. But yes. So, I work with clients who, whether we're all working on publishing and writing their first books, or they are working on manifesting their ideal life, using their imagination with me, because that's what I specialize in. We still go through a whole bunch of phases where worries come in, where the feeling uncomfortable come in. There are so many different ways that we feel uncomfortable, and it can be procrastination, it can be feeling the imposter syndrome, it can be not feeling confident enough, it can be, I think that one thing that for some reason all humans have in common, we are not feeling worthy enough for a long time throughout our life. So all of these feelings come up. And that's what we work through and together on to get through that together, because it is possible and it is a beautiful process actually. So the great thing about, this is obviously all of my personal opinion, okay? But the great thing about feeling uncomfortable is, like I said, it is normal. It is. Why? Because it's something that is a part of us and has been a part of us since literally we appeared on the planet. Our ancestors have always been on the lookout for dangers. They used to look for danger all the time. And this is what we call, and you probably all know that, our reptilian brains. The part of the human brain that corresponds to the brain of the vertebrate before the evolution of mammals, which is associated with behaviors that are mainly concerned with self-preservation. The reptilian brain is a part of us, and it's there to protect us. It will always be on the lookout for what is not making us feel good, and so it will prevent us from getting into a situation where we don't feel good, so that we can feel safe and secure and happy. This is what it's trying to do. It's simply trying to protect us. So it's natural, it's an automatic mechanism, and but it also means that we are always scanning our surroundings. And when I say that, I mean inside what we think, our thoughts, but also outside in our environment for potential dangers. So for our ancestors, this meant having maybe an ominous feeling of doom when they come face to face with a saber-toothed tiger. Okay? But today the problem is that we tend to feel that ominous feeling of doom too often, and for the wrong reason, and we don't realize that a lot of the time. Because if you think about it, a lot of the time when we are feeling uneasy, anxious and happy, first of all, it is not necessarily a sign that you are in immediate danger, because most of the danger that you perceive might be in your mind, because you are imagining what may happen when you go to that interview, or when you ask your boss for a promotion, or when you go back home with things that you shouldn't have bought, or things that you have bought. So you go into those situations when the body is feeling that fight or flight response all the time. So what happens when we feel, when we get into that fight or flight or freeze response? It is what mainly happens is that the flow of oxygen in your body is disturbed, and basically your body will pump more oxygen to organs that are very that you may use for fighting or for fleeing a situation. So your legs, your muscles, your arms, your heart. It will definitely stop sending oxygen and blood to your stomach, to your ovaries or your reproductive system, and to your brain. That's why a lot of people who are stressed feel really have digestive issues, especially if we're stressed all the time. People who want to have a baby are really stressed, so that stops them from having a baby sometimes. And what we say when we feel, when we experience panic, or when we are very anxious or even angry, is that we say things that we don't mean. We do things that we wouldn't do in normal circumstances, because there's less oxygen reaching our brain, and even a slight drop in oxygen level to the brain can affect our thinking. So this is normal, and this is not really our fault, but it's nice to be aware of that and to remain aware of outside or inner circumstances that make you feel in that fight or flight response. So if I ask you right now, what is one thing that you feel stressed about, or what makes you uncomfortable? It can be in general, or it can be something very specific that you did during the day, or that you're going to have to do the next day, or that evening, or that day. Okay, and then look at how it makes you feel. Instantly your heart is going to race, okay, and you might find that your palms get sweaty, and you will feel anxious, or you will feel something, or uncomfortable, or let's say you just had God forbid, but a car accident, and you're healing, but you still have pain in the leg, and it's constant pain, and it's very annoying. Then, by asking you that question, you'll probably focus on the pain on your leg. As soon as you do, you almost go into that uncomfortable feeling. You focus on that. So this is a pattern of thinking that we do, that we happen to do because of our reptilian brain. The reptilian brain works on repeating things that we've done in the past. The only problem with that is that it can't deal with new situation. It can't come up with new ideas and new concepts. For that, you have to think outside the box. You have to become uncomfortable. You have to overcome your feeling, your problems or issues, your challenges, your obstacles. And when we do that, this is when we grow. This is what has been happening to humanity for a long time already. And this is how we are already here, There is a massive wave of people who are fascinated by self-development at the moment, because everybody is starting to realize that obstacles, challenges are stepping stones. They are leading us to something greater and better, and that we can overcome things that make us uncomfortable. And that leads us to the second point that I was making earlier, is that feeling uncomfortable is useful. Actually, it's crucial. It's essential. We don't like it, but it is what makes us who we are. When you feel uncomfortable in your life, you begin to ask questions. If you were born in a place where you're always provided for, everybody tells you what to do, you never lack anything, but you never question anything. You're just there. It's literally like living in a video game, but instead of being the actual main character, thinking and doing things and asking questions and thinking outside the box to overcome obstacles and stuff, you're just one of those characters that just automatically programmed in the game to respond to a certain amount of questions and to just be there as a decorative object. So, I'm just saying, like, this is when you start to feel uncomfortable, sometimes for people, because we have a very high tolerance of the pain that we feel, and some people are even more tolerant of pain, which is actually great, because they can do more things than other people, but it's actually not so good, because it will take bigger and more impactful events to trigger them and to force them in a way to ask themselves the right questions. Now, I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, because, for example, I haven't had to go through a massively painful moment to ask questions, although when I was born, I was born dead, and my twin sister didn't survive. So maybe as a child, it was a traumatic experience. However, I was lucky to have a very comfortable and beautiful childhood. So apart from wondering why I survived and my twin sister didn't, maybe, I didn't have to ask myself painful questions such as, why was I abandoned by a parent, or why was I mistreated by someone? But it's okay. It's either way, whenever we start to ask ourselves questions, it's actually a good sign. When you are in an abusive relationship, and I've been in one, so when you don't realize that you are there, because you don't ask yourself the question. You're usually very in love, you are getting carried on by what you are feeling and experiencing, and it blinds us, it blinds you for a moment, and you stop asking questions. And the moment that you really begin to ask questions, in any situation, I believe, if at work you're not feeling well, you're not feeling good, during the day, doing your job. Your job can be hard, but it doesn't have to be uncomfortable all the time. It doesn't have to make you feel so anxious and stressed that you don't want to go there every day. Same thing with a relationship. Okay, the day that you begin to wonder, is this the right person for me? The day that you begin to ask, should I bring this or that back home? Will he be mad or she be mad if I do this or that? These are the moments when you ask those questions because something has made you feel uncomfortable. These are the moments when you ask yourself those questions. Why? Usually because something needs to be changed. I'm not saying you need to change job or you need to change partner, but something needs to be addressed. An issue needs to be addressed. And what we want in life is for everyone in our lives to feel as comfortable as possible, right? So our goal, I would say, is not necessarily the happiness as a destination, and even enjoying the journey. It is also to create the most comfortable journey possible for us, and we actually have that power. We can do it. It is absolutely possible to go through life and still have challenges, but being able to experience those challenges in a very self-aware way, whereby you actually believe, or you're actually able to go through those challenges in a smoother way. Because if, as soon as you feel comfortable, you begin to ask yourself the right question, it already, well, first of all, it gives you power right away. You claim your power back right away, okay? So a new job you're starting, and a week into the job, or a month into the job, or even a year into the job, you really start to feel that something's not right. Something's not right for you. Something's happening maybe in the company that you don't like. One of your colleagues mistreating you, and same thing in a relationship, or same thing in any situation in life, And it can be also just being in the wrong lane of the road when you're driving. If you don't feel comfortable being there for whatever reason, just go out and take another road and just stop for a bit and ask yourself the question, what's going on? It could have been that, maybe you felt a drunk driver. You didn't see him or her, but you could feel something was wrong on the road. You might never see what it is, but it's okay. You just felt it. You asked yourself a question, what's wrong? And you stop. You might not have the answer to that question right away, but you know that something is making you ask yourself a question. Maybe your eye is twitching and you don't feel so good, and you go to a doctor and somebody finds something that actually makes you realize you've been ill, and you found that out at the perfect time so that you can be healed. These are absolute different examples, but examples that I have personally experienced, or I have had people that I know who have experienced it. So it's very important to just, at least when you feel uncomfortable, check in with yourself, ask yourself the question, any question that comes to you. Then, whether you have the answer or not to that question, and you probably won't have that answer for a long time, what I recommend is to simply accept that this is how you're feeling now. You can't change it maybe at that precise moment. Maybe you are in a meeting and you can't get out. Maybe you are still in that relationship and you can't get out. Make sure you're safe no matter what, that's for sure. But just accept that this is how you're feeling. Accept and acknowledge that it is a good thing, because you are realizing something. You're becoming more self-aware. It's very important. And then when you have some time, list down the things that make you feel uncomfortable, when you feel anxious, when you feel like you have a panic attack, when you know what it is deep down, but sometimes it needs to be written down. So if you just write down words that come to you as you ask that question, but why do I feel uncomfortable? What makes me feel uncomfortable? The answer will come. And then feeling uncomfortable is manageable when you start to take your power back, when you start to be in control, not of the situation, but of the way you react to that situation. You've heard that before, but basically, if something is happening to a loved one and you feel powerless, you don't know what to do, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you try and just accept that this is how you feel. Step 2, you start to ask yourself, okay, so what makes me feel uncomfortable? Well, somebody that I know is not feeling well, is going through a really rough time, and I feel so much compassion and empathy towards them, and I don't feel good. Okay, so what exactly is it in everything that I've just said that makes me feel really uncomfortable? Well, it's the fact that I can't help them. I can't do anything. Okay. So what in the fact that I am powerless makes me feel so uncomfortable? And then you might find that the answer to that might be like, well, I've never felt in control before in my life. Or one day my mother passed away and I was there and I was watching and I couldn't do anything and I didn't feel in control. Whatever it is for you. But you might find that it is always a personal issue, even if it is happening outside of you. Same thing with an abusive relationship. If somebody's putting you down all the time and you're not feeling good, it doesn't matter whether that person is a narcissistic man or woman or personal boss. You don't feel good. So you begin to ask yourself questions. Why do I feel that way? What makes you feel bad when he put me down? Okay, so that person put me down. But what exactly is making me feel bad about that? Well, the fact that I don't feel that I deserve to be put down. Okay, so what exactly do I deserve? Well, I deserve to feel better. I deserve to feel worthy, and I deserve to be recognized for who I am and what I'm doing. And all these questions, you'll go right down, not a valley. Maybe you're down a valley. Yes, you go down a valley, and then you find yourself there because you're going to find a real reason as to why you feel uncomfortable. And then you're going to go right up because you're going to be like, okay, so there's a point when you ask question why that makes you feel uncomfortable, and it begins to be the statement of something that you do not want in your life. And the easiest thing to go about that is, okay, so once you've identified something you don't want in your life, somebody who put you down, who makes you feel uncomfortable, makes you feel like you are worthless, put it down, write it down. What's the total opposite to that? You want to feel totally worthy. You want to feel important. You want to feel valued. And then you begin to take those things, put that into your field of awareness around you, and start taking steps towards going there. That can be very difficult sometimes depending on what situation you're in, so ask friends and family members for help. But once you begin to identify what you don't want, you begin to identify what you do want. And it's very important then to be brave enough and to know that this is one life, you're living one life, and you have the opportunity to create what it is that you want. You really can. You just need to believe that you can, and you need to take the first step. You can start taking the first step. The first step is identifying you're uncomfortable, being okay with this feeling at that moment. Begin to ask yourself the right question. Identify what it is you don't want in your life. Know what it is you do want in your life because of that, and then start taking action toward what it is you want. And that means getting rid of what you don't want, one step at a time. And it means creating situations, reading more books, watching videos, meeting people that are more aligned with what it is that you want in your life. So there you go, everybody. So feeling uncomfortable is useful, it is normal, and it is what helps us grow. It's not easy to go through those moments, but once you are on the other side, obviously it feels better. It feels amazing sometimes. And contrast, which is what Abraham Hicks calls contrast, it actually, those uncomfortable moments are very important to help you grow, help you identify what it is that you really want, and actually discover who you are as a person, who you were born to be, and then start taking the steps to create the life that you want. So this is what I work with my clients as well. So if you have any more questions about that, if you want to get in touch, send me a message. The details are in the description and the bio, and all the links are there. But don't hesitate, and yes, and just trust that this too shall pass. Trust the process, believe in yourself, and remember that you're never alone. Okay, so I wish you all a beautiful day or evening wherever you are, and I can't wait to speak to you soon next week. Bye everybody.